Hi, my name is Jordan at Bulmann Dock and Lift, and today we're going to go over how to assemble a 2598, our 2,500 pound lift with a 98-inch beam. So we got the lift inside on a nice flat level area for assembly, and the first thing we're going to do is unpackage it and lay out all our components for ease of assembly later. So step one, get our hardware pack out of the way, and then we're going to cut the straps here. Be careful, they are under tension. And the second one, and we'll take our straps and cardboard, and those can be tossed. Next, we can take the bunks off. And set those aside. Take the first layer of boards off. Get them out of the way. Then we can grab the lifting bed spreader. We'll place this one a ways away this way so it's an easy reach when we spread the lift. We've got the box that the winch wheel comes in. Then we'll grab the other lift bed spreader. This one goes on the primary side because it's got the warning label here. Easy way of identifying it. We'll set that right here. Then grab a lift beam. This lift beam doesn't have a cable running through it, so it's going to go down on this end of the lift. And we'll set it here so it's easily accessed when we go to build a lifting bed. And finally, we'll grab the other part lift beam. This one has a cable running through it and two rollers, so we're going to set this one down on the lifting end. Then we'll grab one of our frame spreaders. It's got a side with 3 holes on each end and a side with 2. We're going to set it down with the 3 holes facing towards the lift. And then repeat the process with this one. Then we can remove the boards and set those aside. And grab our 9/16 wrenches and loosen the hardware to spread the lift. So there's 12 bolts that hold these packaging spreaders, which hold the 2 sides of the lift together. The first thing we're going to do is loosen them. And pull the short 3/8 by 1 inch bolt out. Well, they're going to save the bolts and discard the nuts. The hardware kit comes with replacement silicon bronze nuts, but we will reuse the bolts. And then we can loosen the 3/8 by 2 1/4 bolts, but do not remove the nuts yet at this step. And we'll just repeat that on all 4 corners. Okay. With all 8 of the bolts loose, we're gonna get our hardware ready for the next step. So we're gonna open up our skin pack here that has all the bolts we need to assemble this. And we're gonna grab 12 of the 3/8 silicon bronze nuts to replace the ones we're gonna remove here. Okay. Three. 3. 3. 3. Then I'm going to remove the 3/8 by 2 1/4 bolts holding the spreader on, and remove the spreader. Put my bolts down here so they're accessible. Then very carefully we're going to remove the other shipping spreader, being careful not to knock over the primary and secondary. At this point, it is helpful if you have other people to help hold up the sides. Set the shipping spreader aside, put my bolts down here so they're accessible. Finally, I can grab the secondary, pick it up, and walk it this way. Then I can take my frame spreader and install it to the lift with the 3-hole side facing in like that. So to do this, I set one end down, square it up a little bit, and I put my first 3/8 by 2 1/4 bolt that I'm reusing from the previous, put it through like that, and take one of my brand new 3/8 silicon bronze nuts and thread it on there. Don't tighten them down yet, so we have some wiggle room to install the rest of the bolts. Take the second one, put it through, and install my brand new 3/8 silicon bronze nut. Thread it down. Then we'll go over to the other side. We're going to repeat the process. Take this spreader, make sure the side with the 3 holes is facing in towards the lift. Set it down. Take one of the 3/8 by 2 1/4 bolts that we're reusing, put it through the hole, and then thread a 3/8 silicon bronze nut on it. Then take the other 3/8 by 2 1/4 and put it through the other hole. And thread a brand new 3/8 silicon bronze nut on it. Next, we'll move over to the secondary side. Push that out a little bit. Grab our secondary and we'll just wiggle it in here. Pick it up so the spreader can clear the foot pad. Go over to the other side. Repeat it. Grab your 3/8 by 2 1/4 bolts. Pick up the spreader, line it up with the hole, put the bolt through, thread on a new 3/8 silicon bronze nut, and then put the second bolt in. And thread on a new 3/8 silicon bronze nut. Then we can go down to the other end, take our hardware, install a 3/8 by 2 1/4 bolt, and install a brand new 3/8 silicon bronze nut. And then repeat to the bottom. And install a brand new 3/8 silicon bronze nut. Okay, so now that we got it framed in but still loose, now we're going to take our tape measure and square up the frame. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure corner to corner and corner to corner on the same reference to make sure that the lift frame itself is square this way. And that'll help with assembly later down the road. So I hook my tape measure on, go down here, and I'm about there, 134 3/4 that way, and 134 3/4 this way. So lifting frame is square. Next, we'll take a speed square and a torque wrench set to 19 foot-pounds and a regular wrench, and we'll square up the frame this way. Put the speed square on there, put it against the bracket and adjust the lift frame till it's flush on both edges. Take our torque wrench, and tighten it to 19 foot-pounds. Double check we're still nice and square, which we are, and tighten up the bottom bolt. And we're going to set that one to 19 foot-pounds as well. Okay, we're going to repeat this process on all 4 corners. All right, now with these bolts tight, the lift frame square, we can install the 3/8 by 1 inch bolt back into the frame spreader. So this bolt installs through the thick plate and into the spreader. Okay, we're going to install the 3/8 by 1 inch bolt. It runs opposite the other two, so it goes through the thick plate, and we install the nut on the other end of it inside the spreader there. Then we're going to torque it to 19 foot-pounds using our 9/16 wrench and socket. And then work our way around the lift, repeating that in the other 3 corners. All right, with the lift frame spreaders installed, now we can work on assembling the lifting bed. So, first thing we're going to do is take our bunks, walk them in, and set them on top of the lift frame spreaders. This will give us a platform to assemble the lifting bed on. Then take our lift beam with the cable on it. That'll go down on the winch end of the lift. It installs with the black plastic flush up against the lift frame uprights. And we'll repeat that for this lift beam here without the cable in it. Just installs and the black plastic touches the lift uprights here. Then we're gonna go over to our hardware pack and grab the 8 3/8 by 2 1/4 bolts in here. Okay. And then 8 3/8 silicon bronze nuts. Then I'm going to put 2 bolts and 2 nuts in each corner. Now we can install our lift bed frame spreaders. So the easy way of doing this is we're going to take one of our bolts and just put it through the bottom hole of this bracket in the lift beam, and that's going to hold it so we can bolt that end down there so we're not struggling with it. So on the primary lifting side of it, we're looking for the one that has the caution sticker, and that's going to line up with this caution sticker here. So we're going to take our lifting bed spreader, drop it into the channel bracket. It sits right on the bolt we slid in there. Then we're going to take our 3/8 by 2 1/4, line it up through the bracket, through the hole in the spreader, and then install a 3/8 silicon bronze nut on it. Then go back over here, pick up slightly, and we pull the temporary bolt out and pin the lift bed spreader and install a 3/8 silicon bronze nut. And then we can install the other 3/8 by 2 1/4. And another 3/8 silicon bronze nut. And finally, finish up this side here, thread on a 3/8 silicon bronze nut. And then we'll repeat the process over on the other side. So we'll take one of our bolts, put it through the bottom hole of the bracket, just to give us something to rest the spreader on. Install it with the grease zerks facing in. Sits just like that. Then we'll take our 3/8 by 2 1/4 bolt, make sure the cable's out of the way, and bolt it and install a 3/8 silicon bronze nut. Back to the other side. Can pull out this bolt here, line it up, and install it through this lifting bed spreader, and thread on a 3/8 silicon bronze nut. Then repeat for the bottom. Then finally we can come back here and finish this one up, install the bottom bolt, and thread on the 3/8 silicon bronze nut. And then we can torque all our bolts down to 19 foot-pounds. Using 9/16 socket and wrench, we'll just go around the lift and tighten them down. Next, we're gonna put the wheel on the winch so we can get the lifting bed hooked up. To do that, we're gonna need a 1/2-inch wrench and a good pair of vice grips. Take our ladder, then inside of our hardware pack here, bolt with a washer, a spacer that installs on the bolt, and then a spring that goes over the spacer. And that's going to be used to secure the wheel after we attach it. Take our cutting tool. Cut our zip ties, holding our cable. You should wear gloves when handling the steel cables because there is a risk of getting cut. Then we'll remove our winch wheel from the box and install this side with the nut sticks out against the winch. So, take our vise grips and clamp them to the main shaft of the winch, just to keep it from rotating as we're threading the wheel on. Then we'll take our wheel and carefully thread it on. All right, we heard a click, which means that the winch wheel is fully threaded down and engaging the brake. Then we can take our 1/2-inch wrench and our bolt with the washer through the spacer and through the spring, and that's going to fit inside the hub of the wheel. The bolt with the washer, put the spacer on with the and then put the spring over the spacer, and that's going to fit inside the hub of the wheel and thread it into the main shaft of the winch. Then we're going to take our 1/2-inch wrench and snug it up. And this keeps the winch wheel secured as it's loosening and tightening, engaging and disengaging the brake. Snug that up. Then we can check it by pulling our pliers off. The brake's engaged because it's clicking, and if we go this way, it loosens up. So we're done with a 1/2-inch wrench. We'll move the ladder out of the way. Put the pliers there. Now, we'll spool up some of the cables so we're not fighting the slack on it. Perfect. Next, I'm going to uncoil the cables from shipping. They're just wrapped over themselves. Get some slack. Then repeat for the other two. Get some slack. Perfect. And then, while I'm here, I'm going to grab a hold of the cable that runs through the lift beam, and I'm going to pull it this way towards me. Leave about a foot over on the other side. We can always pull more back if we need it. Then we can go over and start attaching the cables. All right, now we can hook up the lifting bed cables to the lift. So we're going to start in the winch corner here. And the first cable we're going to deal with is the one running through the lifting beam here. We're going to need 2 silicon bronze nuts, one of the flat washers, 1/8 inch by 1.5 cotter pin, one of the lock washers. So we'll take the cable that runs through the lift beam here, and it's going to go around this pulley here, get a little slack on it, and then we feed it up through the hole in this bar right here. Then we'll take our 1/2 inch flat washer, take our 1/2 inch silicon bronze nut and thread it on there. We want to thread this down a little more than halfway just to make sure that the back of this stainless steel swage doesn't catch on this lower tube. We want to make sure there's some clearance there. So that's set good for now. Then we'll just drop our 1/2 inch lock washer over and put that on there. And we're not going to tighten these down against each other until the lifting bed has been fully installed, and then we level it. Then we're going to need this 1/8 inch by 1.5 cotter pin. We grab a hold of our cable, pull it up tight against the pulley, and feed it through the hole in this. Making sure that it traps the cable. And then we'll take our pliers, come in here and bend the end of the key down to secure it. So with that cable hooked up and we pulled the slack out of the way, now we have room to install the lifting cable in the bed. So we'll go to our hardware pack here and grab another 2 of the 1/2 inch silicon bronze nuts, 1/2 inch flat washer, and another 1/2 inch lock washer. And we'll install the flat washer. Thread on one of the 1/2 inch silicon bronze nuts. We'll thread that on a little more than halfway. Put on the lock washer. And thread on the other 1/2 inch silicon bronze nut. Then we can hook this cable up. To do that, we'll use a 3/8 flat washer, a 3/8 lock washer, and 2 3/8 silicon bronze nuts. So we'll take the cable, pull it to get some slack on it, feed it through the hole, put the flat washer, thread on a 3/8 silicon bronze nut, about there, halfway, put on a 3/8 lock washer, and thread on the other 3/8 silicon bronze nut. And we're done in this corner for now. Get some slack in the cable so we can pull it down and put it through the bracket. Then we're going to take a 3/8 flat washer, 2 3/8 nuts, and a 3/8 lock washer. We're going to install our flat washer, one of the 3/8 silicon bronze nuts. Thread it down about halfway, put a lock washer on, and then thread the other nut on. Then we'll take our last 2 1/2-inch nuts, our last 1/2-inch flat washer, and our last 1/2-inch lock nut washer. Pull this cable and put it up through here. Put the flat washer on, one of the 1/2-inch nuts, lock washer, and then thread the other nut on. And then we'll work our way around repeating the same process. Take the cable, put it through the hole, put a 3/8 flat washer on, 3/8 silicon bronze nut, .3/8 lock washer, then thread the other 3/8 silicon bronze nut on. Finally, the last corner. Put the cable through, 3/8 flat washer, 3/8 silicon bronze nut, 3/8 lock washer, and the last silicon bronze nut. In order to start adjusting the cables, we'll start over at the winch corner here. Put the wrench in, which is holding the top nut, and we're just gonna tighten them against each other until they're nice and snug. All right. Now, with our lifting cable nuts tightened against each other and the lock washer between them, we'll go up here and we can raise up our winch. I got gloves on so I can grab the cable and tighten the winch by turning it clockwise. All right, once it gets the weight of the bed on it, we can let go of it. And we're just gonna run it up so I can get the bunks out. So we'll take the bunks, slide them to one side and pick them up and set them on top of the lifting bed. Pull the bunks out. We'll set it up on the lifting bed. And the next step is we're going to lower the bed down so I can get a reference measurement here, which we'll use to set the other 3 corners. So we'll lower it down. What we're going to do to level this lift is, this is our reference corner. So we're going to take a measurement here, and if the measurement's not nice, I like to adjust this down until I get a nice even number. Okay, winch is locked. So I'm at 5 3/4. So easiest way is take your square, measure it, and then we're going to add 3/4 of an inch. So 5 3/4, we're going to go to 6 1/2. Next, we're going to go over to the other side of the main lift beam here. Got our square set to 6.5 because our measurement was 5 3/4. Then I'm gonna take our square, I'm gonna sit down on the beam, put some pressure on it, and see how there's a gap here. That means that I need to tighten this cable to raise this corner up. Take the cable, put some slack in it so it's hanging free, and I can tighten my bottom nut up. And then can check it, I gotta go a little more. And we're good. So that's adjusted properly now. So now we can tighten the jam nuts down and lock it into place. So I'll grab my 3/4 inch socket and wrench, hold the bottom nut, and hold the cable to keep it from spinning until they start getting a little bit of tension on each other. And then lock them in place. And then we'll grab our square and go back to the other corner, and we can lock this side of the cable down too. Now, take our square and we'll measure it again. Okay. And we're going to set it 3/4 of an inch higher than what we just measured. Then, we're going to go to this corner right here and repeat the same process. So I got a little bit of a gap here. I need to go up with it. So I need to tighten my cable a little bit. Thread the nut down. Still got a little bit of a gap. All right. So this corner is adjusted. Thread the nut down. Put one wrench on the bottom and one wrench on top. Keep the swage from spinning. Best you can. Jam them together. All right, then I'm going to take my square. Just do another check. We're good. So then I can come over here and tighten the other end of the cable down. And tighten them against each other. So we'll sit down on the beam, set our square, add 3/4 of an inch, sit down. We're just a little high, and because we don't have a whole lot of thread here, we're going to go and grab some off the other end of the cable. So we'll go down here and just loosen it a little bit, and that'll affect it the same way as if we were adjusting it here. So come over here again, set down, and the square is touching perfectly. So corners adjusted and we can jam the nuts down. So take our 2 9/16 wrenches, hold the Swage, and tighten it against each other. Then we'll go over and tighten the other end of the cable. Same thing, put the 2 9/16 wrenches on it, and tighten the nuts against each other. All right. And with that, we'll check it one more time. And we're good. So, with that, we'll go through and make sure that all the fasteners are tight. And at this point, the lift is fully assembled and ready for any accessories and guides and bunks you have. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, reach out to your local Bulmann Dock and Lift dealer or contact us at bulmanndock.com.